So you want to create a weapon. A weapon so deadly it surpasses Metal Gear, the Death Star, freedom of speech. But you don't know what kind of weapon should it be. Look no further. Here in the Based Indonesian show, we got you covered. We'll explain to you the different types of weapons of mass destruction, so you can finally build one to launch your megalomaniac conquest of Earth, or to inspire people up the top with bright ideas of power and strength.
Bila bom nuklir diledakkan, akan musnah kehidupan di bumi.
Welcome back to the Base Indonesian show, where we showcase to you different types of weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction, or shortened WMDs, are what exactly is said on the tin. It's weapons that causes massive destruction, often without discriminating who or what. The trend goes, people create WMDs, use it, and is utterly horrified at the consequence, so they sign pieces of papers called treaties with other people, vowing not to use these weapons again, only to then produce more of them for the sake of quote-unquote deterrence. The horrible thing about WMDs is that it unalives 99% of the people caught in its area of effect. When used in warfare, this not only harms enemy combatants, but also civilians, animals, buildings, and plants, causing severe damage to the infrastructure and environment when those things are really needed. But hey, population, am I right? Indonesia needs some. But enough about what's what. Let's get into the main course. What are the types of WMDs? Surely they come in all shapes and sizes, which in fact they do. As far as we know, there are 4 types of these weapons. There's nuclear, biological, radiological, and chemical. Basically, 2 basic science you learn at school and 2 you learn in the movies and science fiction. Let's jump to the first one. We first jump to nuclear. The bomb that changed history both in war and the box office movie industry. Nuclear weapons, the ultimate mic drop of mass destruction. They're like cosmic-sized firecrackers, but followed with an extreme makeover. Turn an empire into animation and comic center of the world. One of the famous ones is the fat man that squished the heck out of Japan. He sat on them so hard till they changed their whole belief system. Or a more relevant imaging is the Shinra Tensei from Pain in the Naruto series. Nuclear weapons were created after these nerds discovered something called nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is a profound physical process. It involves the disruption of heavy atomic nuclei, typically of elements like uranium or plutonium, by the collision with high-energy neutrons, resulting in the division of these nuclei into smaller fragments, accompanied by a remarkable release of energy, a manifestation of Einstein's E equals mc2 equation. This extraordinary energy release, primarily in the form of kinetic energy of fission products and an energy emission of high-energy photons and neutrons, has transformative implications, serving as the foundation for both controlled nuclear power generation and devastating atomic weaponry. The scientific and engineering management of this intricate phenomenon, striking a balance between controlled energy production and the prevention of uncontrollable chain reactions, underscores the intricate interplay between theoretical physics, technological mastery, and ethical responsibility that characterizes the nuclear age. To summarize it in dummy terms, nuclear fission is the process of splitting atoms to liberate energy and generate explosion. When nuclear fission was discovered, everybody raced to make the first nuclear weapon ever, instead of using nuclear power for the good of humanity. It seems to me that people are more concerned with blowing people up rather than elevating our standard of living. The Americans were the first to figure out how to blow people up using nukes. The atomic bomb was invented by the Manhattan Project team led by Dr. Julius Robert Oppenheimer. The atomic bomb had a yield of 15 kiloton and is able to obliterate anything within the range of 1.9 kilometers. The Americans saw the destructive power and contemplated its usage for 3 hours before deciding to drop one on 10,000 people. When the bomb was dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Japanese weren't able to fathom what was going on until they received reports that a single bomb was able to wipe out a city, which alarmed them. The Japanese quickly surrendered, World War II was over, and atomic energy was finally being put to use for the good of humanity. until they realized they can build a bigger bomb. The Soviets built their own bomb called the Joe-1 by the Americans in 1949, while the British dropped the Hurricane in 1952. The Americans move on from the atomic bomb production and, led by the notorious mad scientist Edward Teller, successfully detonated Castle Bravo, the first thermonuclear type weapon. The thermonuclear is basically an even bigger version of the atomic bomb. It relies on heating nuclei in high degrees, just like in a microwave, to induce an explosion, compared to splitting the atoms. The French was late to the party and invented their atomic bomb in 1960. Moving on, people realized that bomb testing was hazardous and had a chance to blow the world 9 times over, so they began conducting the tests underground. They buried the bomb deep inside Earth and blew it up. It's a good idea. By 1998, 9 countries already possessed nuclear weapons. America and Russia, obviously, due to their rivalry. The UK has a few to bolster American nuclear arsenal. The French has some because they pursue their own defense policy. China has one to protect themselves from both America and Russia. Pakistan and India has their pointed at each other. Israel to protect themselves from the Arabs, and North Korea to satisfy their own ego. That means 9 of these countries are capable of causing a tremendous amount of destruction, casualty, and suffering on others. Think about it. But don't worry. For these countries to launch nuclear weapons, leaders will have to follow a comically lengthy process of protocols and clearance that by the time they want to launch the missiles, they'd already be too tired to be bothered. Plus, nations signs pieces of papers that stops further proliferation and usage of nuclear weapons. We know papers have the power to compel nations to stop fighting each other. Even if they still want to use it, they'd have to face mutually assured destruction. A nuclear country launching nukes will face retaliation with other countries that has nukes. So your chances of getting nuked off the face of the earth is very low, but never zero.
Subscribe to the Based Indonesian Show. Dijamin halal